Are you ready for today? I have another good philo for you. I have a really good philo, actually. Let me see. I took some more notes on this, and we're going to talk about a story that you guys have heard before. You guys remember Mr. Moses? You guys remember Moses? We've talked about Moses. I've given you a philo on Moses from the Bible, the Old Testamente. So we're going to talk about something, and some of you aren't going to like this. I think I say that with every philo. Every philo has its good and bad, and the problem with this philo, some of you might get discouraged. I don't know if you know, but Moses, he led the people out of Egypt. He did a very, very great thing. You know, Moses was a world changer of his time. He really had to rise up to the challenge. But the part that sucks is he didn't start until he was 80. So I'll tell some of you people don't like that concept. I know it's hard to swallow sometimes. God is patient. God is slow. But today we're going to talk about a little bit just on his journey in a weird way. And I want to talk about 40 years. 40 years is really what I'm going to title this for you. 40 years. And I want you to think about this 40 years. And I'm not saying the long term. I'm really talking about where some of you are right now. And obviously, timing is key. Every single one of you has a different time. There's a different time for anything. But what happened is he was hiding for 40 years. So if you don't know the story with Moses, there was stuff going on at the time he was born. His mom floated him down a river. She wasn't allowed to keep him. The king's daughter found him and ended up adopting him and took this little boy she found in a river, ended up raising him in the palace. He learned with the Egyptians. He essentially was a Hebrew, but he learned to become an Egyptian king. He came from a place he wasn't supposed to be. And he eventually learned, and then one day, he started, he was doing his thing. He went to visit some of the Hebrews and look at them, and then he saw that the Egyptians were being mean to his people. So he was like, what? And then he killed one of the Egyptians. He hid the body, and then somebody called him out for it. And then he was like, oh, crap, they know what I did. So then he fled. He ran away. He went from being adopted, living in the palace, being this king's son, essentially, killing an Egyptian, and then runs, then hides for about, the timeline is very, very interesting because when you read the Bible verse, they don't really explain it, but through different books of the Bible, they mention Moses, and people have pieced this together. That's where the 40 years comes from. So after killing this dude and running away, he's 40 years he spends on the run. That's the 40 years he spends. And what happens, he ends up coming across these chicks. They needed help. He helped them get water. And then they told their dad, and they're like, where is this guy? Invite him in. And he pretty much just starts working for this shepherd guy. He goes from king of the palace to working as a shepherd. It's just a crazy concept if you think about it. He went from being literal prince to running away and just sitting there taking care of a random dude's sheep in the middle of nowhere. Now, he was hiding, and he hid for 40 years as a shepherd. And even he knew it at the moment. Even every time, because eventually he had that encounter with the burning bush and God said he was going to do all of this stuff, but even he knew it. He was like, how am I supposed to be the guy to lead the people out of Egypt and tell the king what to do? That's really what it came down to. And this is really what I want to talk about here today, because like I said, that chronology of the Bible, he was there for 40 years. It even says in the Bible, in the book of Numbers, it says that Moses was actually one of the most humble men on earth. One of the most humblest men to ever walk the earth was Moses. That's what 40 years did to him. That's where some people have talked about it. They've explained it, that 40 years was for him to develop patience and trust in God. But at the same time now, it wasn't the max of his abilities. So that's what I'm going to talk about here today for you guys. That's why the 40 years is important. And I'm speaking to somebody in here, I'm sure. I know this is going to hit some of you, like a lot of the philos, and you're going to be like, whoa, holy crap. Because simply, what I'm trying to say to you right now is that all of us at some point in our life, we've felt like we are not living up to our potential. Yes or no? That you're supposed to be the guy to lead your family out. You're supposed to make all of these changes, all to do this, and somehow you are running away farming sheep. Whether you chose to or not, whether it was conscious or not. But at some point, there's a feeling there. It's like, I'm not really living up to my potential. Yeah, there you go. Amen. I'm glad. There you go. Thank God. Thank God we got some real people in here. Amen. I love you. For real. That's why I've been laughing a lot lately, because every time, thank God I'm not surrounded by people who aren't like, oh no, I've always felt, I was born doing what I love to do. I was born, oh no, everything's perfect. Oh no, this is my passion. I'm so passionate about this. I've always been passionate, and I always work hard. And thank you for some real people. I think it's important. We don't always live up to our potential in some of the moments. Or you may feel like that for a while. Instead of leading the people out of Egypt, some of us are hiding because we are ashamed. And we're tending the sheep. That's what happened. Moses killed the dude, and he ran because he thought people saw what he did. He was scared. He was ashamed. Anybody ever had a dream you wanted to do something, and you kind of got ashamed over whatever it was, and then you ended up running? Honestly, man, he was hiding because he was ashamed. Sometimes we get in that position and we run away. We run away from Egypt. We run away from the whatever it is we did, but sometimes we want to. Sometimes we don't. Sometimes we don't believe in ourselves. Sometimes it's intentional. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you're scared that you just killed somebody. You're like, I got to go. Some of you are like, oh, I don't think I'll ever be able to do anything great. And just the insecurity of yourself will make you run away from it. Some of you are naturally better than me at a lot of things. Your mental capacity is higher. You're educated. You could pronounce AbbVie correctly. Think about that. But you're so scared of something, instead of being the king, instead of leading the people, you will settle with taking care of somebody else's sheep. But that's the point, though. Even if you are taking care of the sheep, those 40 years, we've all been there. We've all felt like that. We've all had this moment. Some of us are still in there, and we go through it at different lives. But the point is, your destiny, we know what Moses did. You know what he was going to do. Even God told him. But your destiny says you're going to do something. But in the moment right here, right now, it feels like you're being underutilized. Some of you have the promise, some of you don't. Honestly. Some of you don't, or you have the promise. So some of you don't know your destiny right now. Some of you are still just like, yo, what the hell am I doing? I don't know if it's going to work. Some of you are still tripping on that. Some of you really don't know if the stock market's going to do it. Some of you really don't know if you're going to be okay. Some of you do. Some of you have locked in, got a goal, done all this, and now you're aiming, and you said, listen, this sucks right now. I don't know what it is, but I know where my destiny is. And even then, you will feel underutilized. And then vice versa if you don't know. And that's what happens. A lot of times I thank God for what he's about to do, and I see it. It's a weird perspective shift to know where you're at right now and that this is just the pivot point, because all of us are headed towards something. You don't know what your destiny is. It will surprise you. But usually on the way to destiny, on the way to your goals, on the way to your dreams, whatever it may be, you are going to feel underutilized. Again, the same guy who's supposed to lead people out is settled to take care of a random person's sheep and just dirty sheep and this for basic food, and that's it. That's what he from the palace. Don't forget that. So again, I'm going to give you a reminder. You know, this quiet moment some of you are in, this moment of what you think is insignificance, I really remind you that this is your training ground. I really hope you realize that. Some of you think you're insignificant right now. You think nothing's happened. It's quiet. You're not seeing the changes. You think it's it, and you feel underutilized. You feel like all of this shit, man. But I'm just telling you right now, that is your literal training ground. That is because that's what it was for Moses. You don't think Moses learned stuff from that? Moses, through the whole he had to learn how to look like a fool. He had to learn to have people not believe him. And he had to even learn the magic tricks. Because that's what happened when he was in the wilderness and came to God. After 40 years of taking care of these sheep, God showed him the burning bush, and he told him all of this stuff. He said, you're going to go to Pharaoh and tell him to free my people, all of this. And Moses like, dude, I can't even talk straight. He literally had a speech problem and would argue with God saying, God, I can't do it. Moses. And then God said, do this. Throw the stick on the ground. It turned into a snake. Magic tricks. That's what I call it, magic tricks. He said, stick your hand in your coat and pull it out. He'd stick his hand in. It would go in a normal hand. He'd pull it out. It'd come out with lepers. He'd put it back in his pocket and go out. He's like, show this to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh will believe. But guess what? Where did he learn all that? Where did he learn the patience to deal with everything he learned? Was in the wilderness. He didn't learn those magic tricks in the palace. Even then, when he did go up to the king, and the king did all that, the king brought out his own magicians to say, look at what we have, look what we could do. But he learned something in that moment of silence, in that wilderness, that you're not going to learn it in the palace. It got him ready for a lot. Again, it was his training ground. He learned that in the wilderness, not growing up in the palace. And really, all of these things that prepared him for what he was about to do, everything really hinged upon what he did leading up to that. When it came down to doing the magic tricks, telling Pharaoh this is going to happen. The first time he went, Pharaoh he just kept getting negativity. The first time Moses went to Pharaoh, Pharaoh got mad, and then the people who he was supposed to help ended up getting hurt more. And they got mad at Moses. Imagine that. He had to deal with a lot out there. But every single thing he went through in that wilderness at one point, when it came down to leading the people out, and then afterwards, that patience, that humbleness, the tending to the flock, learning how God operates, all of it. It was all leading up before any of the real events happened. He wouldn't have been prepared without it. So, pretty much, what I'm telling you, and I hope you know this, is that nothing really happens for no reason. And I know it's cliche, but I hope you realize that what you learn during these moments, this battleground, you think it's insignificant, you think it's this and that, I hope you know that these moments are here to set you up for a future bigger than you can imagine. Embrace these moments. Legitimately, embrace the fact that you're out with the sheep. Again, it seems insignificant. I kind of talked about this the other day, but it wasn't David, it was Moses. Today's Moses. Last time we were saying David. There's a key. You guys study rich people. This is studying leaders, people who have done stuff in a different text. Some of you don't believe it. It's still a great story. But there is going to be a future bigger than you can imagine. And if you need to learn to embrace these moments right now. We've been talking about it. You have to learn to develop the patience. You're not going to be able to develop patience until you've been put in a position to be patient. Someone said, how do I do something I'm afraid of? You got to do it. How are you ever going to learn? You have to get developed at it. Develop the patience. Honestly, develop the trust. This one's my favorite because that's what it says there. It says, people say, oh, when Moses was doing all this, they said that it taught him to be humble and to trust God. I like it, developing trust. You know why? Because it's one thing, I think, to develop trust with God. I really do. I think that's its own little level. But it's also another thing to trust yourself. I really hope you know that. It's a whole different thing to trust yourself, to believe in yourself, and know what you could accomplish with your two hands. That's what he was getting through that process. He did learn to trust God. That God said, he said, I can't do this, I can't do that. But God said something, he trusted it, but then eventually, what was part of the development process? He learned to trust himself. What do you think? Honestly, what's going to happen to some of you guys? Some of you are new, you're babies, you don't get it. You're new. That you're asking me for questions. Some of you pray a lot, but what do you think is going to happen in your developmental process? Think about it. Some of you can't trust yourself right now. You can't trust yourself with the money. Some of you get successful, and some of you are afraid you're going to lose it. You have that fear. Some of you can't even trust yourself. It feels like a fluke. Come on now. It's pretty crazy to think about. That's why I'm saying developing that trust and patience is very, very important. But the point is, in that 40 years that he was sitting there, and it took him time to get to really accomplish it. It took him a long time. And time is key, and I know it's sad when you hear 80 years. That's very discouraging, believe me. I would hate to hear that. But it's during that 40 years of time and understanding what his destiny was, understanding how great he was, understanding the level of accomplishment, the leadership exhibited, all of that. But for 40 years of his life, he was underutilized. For 40 years, it seemed like he was never living up to his purpose, whether God talked to him or not, whether he was still sulking, ashamed, scared, running away, and then maybe he just fell in love with a content life of just farming and that's it. But at some point, though, it just didn't, he was never tapped in. The full potential was not tapped in for 40 years. That doesn't make any sense. God could have snapped his fingers. God could have said, go do this, go do that, go do that. But there were so many things that were developing. And that's what I'm telling some of you guys right now, is that none of this stuff is going to waste. Not one of these moments, and you don't see it. You realize, that's why I love God. You don't love God, that's fine. I maybe love the world. I hope you know how it works, is that there's other things happening. You're not the only one in the damn world. You realize that, right? I know you think it revolves around you. I know you probably think I think it revolves around me. It doesn't. God sees everything. God knows everything. There's different things moving around, all setting up. That's why nothing is being wasted, because you can't see everything. Let me say that again. Nothing is being wasted. Whatever you're going through, whatever you've been through, whatever, all of that, because you can't see everything. You want me to give you a point in the story? Because one of the things that God told Moses to do eventually, and after that 40 years when he told Moses to go back, he brought up an important point. He said, go back, because all of the people that were trying to kill you have died. Do you get that? In the time that he wasn't being used to his full potential, he was sitting there. He was working. Why did it take 40 years to develop that patience and everything? Because people were trying to kill him. If he went back earlier, he would have dealt with something else. You don't see what's going on. You don't see, literally, some of you are worried about the next business op. It's miles and miles away. Maybe this person needs to meet that person needs to meet this person, this technology goes here, there, that person, that, and then eventually you're going to meet somebody. But all of that shit you couldn't see had to happen for you to run into your opportunity. Do you get that? You fucking don't get it. Why are you here right now? What do you think happened in my life that connected all the damn dots that one day I started streaming on here? And then guess what? All of that shit had to happen. You couldn't see it, but all of it had to happen so that you could have clicked on this video one day. And now you're listening to a philo. Now you've interacted with me. Now you're connected. Some of you, I regard you as very good friends. How did that happen? I saw Tyler Royke on my Instagram Live. I've known him since I met him on Twitter 6 years ago. This dude's still here today. Isn't that funny? And all that had to happen for me to meet him to meet me. And then isn't it ironic he helped some of you guys, a lot of you, with real estate? It's a trippy concept. But the point I'm saying is there's stuff that needs to happen, and not needs to happen, is currently happening that you can't see. So instead of getting negative, instead of feeling underutilized, I think you should learn to count your fucking blessings. And really get an idea of, say, wow, I'm in the gym right now. I have this ability to develop, and I know something's working, and it's all going to place and position itself. I'm grateful for what I have right now. I'm grateful that, and guess what? That's what Moses was. He was kind of content with this situation. He was okay with it. But count your blessings, honestly. Happy Thanksgiving. But I just hope some of you know, because I get it. We've all been underappreciated. You know, maybe we should give this philo to Trump. At some point, though, you are going to feel very underutilized. You're going to feel like you're not living up to your potential. And that's the moment where you need hope, that environment we talked about yesterday. But you need to just really focus on what you've been blessed with so you don't miss it. So that you don't let this, you don't give up at the battleground in your training just because it's not playing out how you thought it was. Or you think think about that. It's ego. I could be doing this. I could be doing that. Why would I need to learn this right now? Why do I got to take it slow? I'm great. I'm this. Why would I waste my time? Or some of you don't even have that ego. Some of you are scared. Some of you are ashamed. And that's why being underappreciated just hurts that much more. But I hope you know it's not being wasted. Because this moment where you think you're being underappreciated, there is a diamond mine in there. And it is there to teach you something. Because the things you can't see are eventually going to come around the corner. And the things are going to be aligned. So, I hope you're ready. And I hope you're ready by knowing what you have and your blessings and all of that. Instead of when the opportunity comes around, if you always feel underappreciated about it, you might miss it, to be honest with you. Or you may not be motivated to change the situation. Because eventually you had to get up and do it. God was interesting, especially with Moses. Because he would argue with Moses, and then he was like, fine, Moses, I'll give you this. But here's one thing that I like about Moses. When the burning bush, when God first talked to him in the desert, he saw the bush on fire. Moses did. Moses walked by it. You guys know that? It wasn't as if the bush was just screaming at him. It's not like it was like some people like, oh, it's DMT. If it was DMT, he would have been tripping. He would be like, whoa, it's talking to me. Whoa, but that's not what happened. He walked by it. He walked by it. It was still on fire, and he just said, that's pretty cool. And then he circled back. He came back to it. The point was, Moses was a pretty curious guy. He was ready to move. God started talking to him because he looked into it, not because he just walked by it. There's a big difference. Moses could have said, "Oh, that's cool," and kept walking. He said, "Oh, that's cool." He said, let me take a closer look. So let me ask you guys the same thing. You might have a burning bush in your life. I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. There's that." How many of you are walking by it? How many of you are looking into it? That's how you're going to get your answer. So, I hope you know none of this stuff is being wasted. At whatever moment of insignificance you think this is, I really hope you know it has a purpose to it. It's on you to believe that. For real. It really, really is. Because this is where you're going to get trained. Some of you, I encourage you to take advantage of it right now. Because the last thing you want to do is have all of those factors you can't see work together, and then when the opportunity presents itself, you did not train for it. You weren't ready. You didn't look into it. You did not seek further. You took one moment of negativity and said, "This means I'm nothing. This means I have nothing. This means I can't do it. This means this is it." You will be underprepared. Some of you will rise up to the challenge and see it right now. Some of you are going to realize, damn, this whole time, I thought I was just running away taking care of sheep. But I was being trained for something way bigger that I couldn't have even imagined until I really looked into it. And then it still took some time. It's pretty crazy to think about. So whether you see it or not, I hope you know none of it's going to waste. I know it's very cliche, but I think it's very true. And we see it in many, many stories, many aspects of life. So for you guys, I get it, especially in this industry, especially doing a lot of different stuff. You guys you're gonna feel like you're not utilizing yourself. You're gonna feel like you're capped, this and that. Look into it. Find it. Find that hope and positivity. It's more to that. Are you setting that level of excellency like we talked about? I'm telling you, some of you are going to do great things. The people who do great things, it's not going to be the people who cry in these moments. The people who try to make it easier in these moments. The people who think that's it. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to be those people. It's the people who get it, the people like Moses, the people like David who they did what they needed to do. Literally, if some of you, if you feel you're underappreciated, underutilized, then this shit should be easy. You see what I'm saying? Have you ever met somebody like that? They say, "I don't want to do this work because I feel like it's not living up to my potential," but they never do the basic work. You see what I'm saying? So that's what it's coming down to. I hope it helps you guys. You do that? No, we all do. We do it a lot. But just don't miss this moment, man. Honestly, for some of you, I encourage you to drop the negativity, embrace the situation you're in now. And one of you is going to look into it, and whether it's today, tomorrow, 2 years, 5, 10, you will find out why you went through that. I promise you. I promise you. But at the same time, if you just kind of embrace the negative aspects of your situation, the opportunity, it's going to make you that much more bitter. Because the opportunity is still going to come. It's just what you're going to do with it. And let me even tell you this, the final point. It took a long time. It took a long time, 40 years, 80 years with Moses. But even along the way, it was step by step. It didn't always still work good. God developed him through everything. Even the first time he was ready to go, he got rejected still. So some of you are going to hear this. You're going to have a breakthrough and get going. And then you're going to hit a roadblock and be like, oh. Keep going. That's still part of the training ground. That is still part of growing. You know, I guess it kind of just leads to the final part. You know, I can't tell you guys, and I love it because it's like I'm saying, it's just events. It's like when you're living in life and when you see it, it's that perspective shift where it's like today, right now, I hope you realize you're going to look back at today and then you're going to look back at it 1 year, 5 years from now and be like, whoa, this was that moment that led to that. It's like understanding God, honestly. Like, I can't tell you God. I couldn't give you, I can't show you where God is. I can't show you how he looks. I can't explain all of it to you because you guys will, some of you will realize you see God post. You see God in the post game. It's very hard to notice him in the middle of the game. Do you understand that? I hope you do. That's why I believe in God. I didn't know when I was 20 years old, when I was 18, when I was doing this. Some of you don't believe in God right now. You've been here every single day. You won't see God until 5 years from now. Maybe 1 year from now, because you're going to look back at your life and be like, whoa, that was God. It's through the experience. You're going to experience something and be like, damn, there's no way I could have. That's the only way I can't believe that. You see what I'm saying? That's why all of these events you're going through now, it's the same. That's what I'm saying. Even failure, hiding, looks like you're about to get on the right track. You make a move, you get rejected. And you keep trying because eventually that's how God develops you through the process. But go in peace. Utilize your current training ground to the maximum of your abilities. And don't fool yourself thinking that any of this time, any of these moments, any of these actions are ever going to waste. As that's just not how it works. So, that is your philosophy, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you guys are subscribed. We're live Monday through Friday, 30 minutes before open. Drop your thumbs up on the video. You're on mobile. Press hide, chat, X out that chat. Hit that thumbs up button. Second link for the nightly watch list and main channel. First link for the Scream Alerts Bootcamp Air Real Estate course. Keep it positive and respectful. Follow me on Instagram at the Trading Fraternity. Keep it positive and respectful. I love all of you. And I hope you know none of you are underappreciated, man. I think all of you are amply, I think some of you should appreciate this moment that you're in, man. For real. And you'll appreciate it more. Because I respect all my Moseses out there. Just hurting away, taking the positive out of it, and just ready. Amor fati, letting the things come together with it. Honestly, it's beautiful. So I love it. And if you're going to feel like that at one point, don't let it get to you. That's the test. That is the test, my friend. That is the test. Woo! I was top 10? I thought that was top 10. Okay, I'll take top 10. That's nice. I thought it was decent, man. I liked it. I just know that concept. I know the underappreciation. You see it with Trump. You see it all around. You see people like, Josh, why didn't you buy this at this? They feel the under. I feel it. Some of you, I don't even the prayer request. Some of you, what you don't say, I feel it. Many, many things. And I know I've dealt with this one too many times. That's why I could, through living through experience, and I know some of my wiser, older men in here and women could relate. Nothing ever happened for no reason. There's stuff going on in the background, but I want my boys in here to understand they're in the gym right now. That's it. I hope you guys know that. This point of it's quote unquote insignificance. I love that word. You think you're insignificant. You think it's nothing. You think you're not all of this. This is your gym. And that's the point. Because some of you guys, I'm going to look back at you and be like, what the fuck did you do with this time? You were in the gym the whole time. You had 4 years of no progress, no results. You didn't get what you want. I was stuck here. What did you do with it? See what I'm saying? You didn't eat anything. You didn't ingest anything good for your mind, body, or soul. You didn't use that time to work out, to handle resistance, handle training. While nobody was there, you didn't use that opportunity to fail and look like a fool. Oh, come on. You want me to keep going? I thought this philo's over. Woo. So, do your thing, man. That's why. It's for you guys. I love you all. And I know a lot of us have been here, so let's go. You're in the gym. You are in the gym. Don't waste the moment, because you would be surprised.